Funky Marketing Podcast. It is the first one after, let's say, January, after the last episode, and it's the time that I spend rethinking what I want to do with the podcast, what I want to think about, who I want to interview. Should be the episodes where I'm, only one talking to you. We're going to have those episodes as well. But today is not the day. Today is the day when I have a guest. And I have somebody who, when I was reading his bio on LinkedIn and those kind of things, I was saying like, wow, let's really try to get into his head and what he's doing and transfer that knowledge for you. So today we're going to talk about how to de-risk and accelerate victory when launching new ideas, or it can be new products, new features, or even new businesses. And some of the things that our today's guest have done is, he oversaw growth in 15 companies and grew them from 0 to 3 million in annual revenue. 15. He has built 12 high-achieving international teams of marketers from scratch at different companies, and he generated more than 50 millions in revenue from companies he has led marketing and revenue at. He is the founder of CrowdTamers, leader, growth, content marketer, thinker. He's also, same as I, a mentor at Founders Institute. And what I found really inspiring is his mission is to help 1,000 founders make more than $1 million in annual revenue. So join me in welcoming our today's guest, Trevor Longino. Did I say it the right way?
Sure. I'm not that particular. That's how you would say it if you're Italian. But my family moved to America in 1756, and so it's gone.
Yeah, you usually
anglicized since then.
Here in Serbia, we usually we have this saying, "Speak as you write."
Yeah, there
right.
You go.
So it's all straightforward.
There you go. Works. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on Funky Marketing, Nemanja. Oh my God, I messed your name up. Nemanja.
Yeah, it's all good.
After this whole intro about my name. Sorry about that. So, I do go to market for startups. I build $1 million marketing engines, and what I love to do, and what may be interesting to the listeners in your podcast, is that initial launch, that 0 to 1 million, which some marketers say it's the hardest part. And in some ways it is if you don't have a process to approach it. But I think if you're smart, if you de-risk it, because the one thing I can guarantee you, anybody who launches a business, that first attempt at launching isn't going to be right. And the trick is you have to get past that, past the first however many it is that weren't the right approach, and discover the right approach as fast as you can. The faster you do that, the more successful your business will be overall. And really what I've learned doing this wrong a whole lot and then right some is when you get through all those bad ideas, which you don't think are bad, no one launches with like, this is going to suck, let's try it. But you put it in the market and the market just, it's crickets. So once you get past those ideas and discover what really works, that's when your business can succeed. And up until then, you're not going to have good luck. It's also worth noting what you need to do to make your business grow and launch changes over time. And the marketing plan that worked great 2 years ago won't make you any money now. And that's the other thing to think about. A lot of founders will go, I just did this 2 years ago. I can now launch my own. It's a surefire success. Is it though? So you want to make sure you de-risk that and learn as fast as you can. Then you'll do better.
I totally agree. And you made some great points. And, working now with more of a later stage startups, I used to work with those early stages. And what I see is the root of the problems. They say, we now have complex problems. We solved the foundation, but it's not true. Usually the foundation is the root cause of those complex problems that companies have in the later stages.
Yeah, definitely. I work a lot with early stage. I do work also with, Series B size startups, so a bit later stage, doing a couple tens of millions a year. And they end up yeah, you discover, hey, you built this engine, it makes you money, you're doing okay, but there's actually a missing piece in the foundation that you never knew wasn't there because you move fast and break stuff, right? You moved fast, you skipped over it, you built everything up. It looked good enough until you had to put enough weight on the foundation where it starts to crumble.
Yes.
And then you go, oh no, we have to go back to those very first principles and figure out why it's starting to fall apart now.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember you and I had a chat in the comments when I needed to switch a little bit the focus of the funky marketing. And actually, it happened after I decided to scale down from the agency model and move more into the consultancy. Uh, and at first, it was like, crickets for 2 months. Nothing happened. And then I talked to the people and find out what is the cause. How do they look at us? What is causing them not to convert right now, because they wanted to convert but not right now, and the message and everything. And when I find out what is causing that and what I can do from my side to make it more approachable, in my case those are like the packages, the specific needs. How do I describe what's actually happening? What do they get from me? What do I get from them? I closed 11 deals the next month.
Nice.
So
Congrats.
yeah, so actually it went very well, and I still need to update that on the website, about which we have had a conversation. But step by step, September is for that.
Gotcha. Awesome. All right. So let's talk about some of this de-risking, right? And I always like to know. I have my own approach. You and I have talked a bit about how I go through it. You mentioned you were talking to somebody before we started streaming. You were talking to somebody yesterday, and they're like, "How do we de-risk our marketing efforts?" What was your advice to them?
Oh, I mean, a lot of things. Let me tell you, those were people from different backgrounds. So they were future solopreneurs. Some of them were building, software companies as a startup, and so it was different. Let's use a couple of those first, which are not like software companies. They were husband and wife wanting to get into the entrepreneurship. They're creating custom wooden stuff. So those that should be expensive, they look at it like that. But they only they were giving them for free to their friends, or charging something which is equal to like 20 euros. So and they were like, we don't know what to do, how it goes, that. And the first thing is what you are asking them: have you actually sold one piece? And they ask, we don't know the pricing, and then we got back, what's the goal of this? You want to become entrepreneurs and live out of it? And what is the price that you need to earn to be able to have freedom, right, to go and do that? That's the price that you try to sell it at first, so you can see if that can be. Also, there are a lot of different people, companies doing the same things. You can go and check them out. It's not something that is totally unique in that way. So from that perspective, yeah. Others, as like software companies, they have a problem. They were selling in Serbia market, and now they want to go to the Europe and the US. So it's totally different thing. In Serbia, you basically go in the early stage and you call people. That's it. That's how you sell in Serbia, right? So you have a list of companies. They are software in logistics and in transport. So you call people, and that's how you get into the conversations with them. Or you go to the specific places, events when they hang out, and you talk to them. In the Europe, at first they are not present over there, right? They are not European company. So for that, what I advise them: you work on the Serbian market. You need to build a couple of case studies. You need to have processes. You need to basically make it easy for the other side to understand what do they need this, how does it help them, and I very often I use to help them with that. I use Andy Ruskin's narrative slide to kind of help them how to go step by step and see what's missing, what do they have over there, and what do they need to build from there. So I talk with them from that perspective.
Gotcha. Cool. All right.
So
That
not
makes sense.
from the perspective that they should build a funnel, right? We talked about it.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good time to bring up, right? You wanna throw my Figma window up here. Now, those of you who are listening to the podcast, this part might be less compelling, but if you're watching this on video or on the live stream right now, um, you're probably used to, if you know the SaaS space at all. This is Dave McClure from 500 Startups. Here's Pirate Metrics, and I think it's Pirate Metrics funnel, and it's called Pirate Metrics because it goes acquisition, activation, retention, revenue, referral. It goes AARRR like a pirate. We're very fun. So this idea is, if you think of the sales process as this funnel, then you can model at each stage and you can begin to think of how to acquire users. Well, there's two reasons why I detest funnels as a model. One is, if you've ever used a funnel in the real world, everything you put in the top comes out the bottom, which means if you're trying to model a lossy system, a funnel is literally the opposite of that. That's the reason why you have one, is because if I have a big jar of mayonnaise I'm trying to put into a little bottle, I don't just dump it. I use the funnel to get it down. So that's one reason. The other reason is it makes it feel like it's people just move themselves, they trickle through, and it's a one-way path. Right? I come out the bottom or I don't. Job's done. Bob's your uncle. And a lot of that makes it feel very passive. So I don't like this. I also think it's missing some steps. And instead, what I want you to think about is, let's update this old school method into a pyramid, right? I'm currently calling this the Pirate Metrics Pyramid. I was getting a bunch of crap on a call recently, on a live stream recently. We need a better name. I don't have a better one yet. If you know a better one, get in the comments. Tell me. But the idea here is, think of this as a pyramid, not as a funnel. And a pyramid is something you build, not something people fall through. And if we think of awareness, I have to build awareness, right? There's 8.5 billion people in the world. Most of them aren't even aware of your business. So you get them exposed to you first. And once you've figured out, I've got my awareness problem cracked, I know what I need to do to get people from awareness to, I've now got their interest, and I'm beginning to acquire them on my website or acquire them on a lead gen form. There's a gap here, and I know what percentage of people I want to see jump that gap. And I know, I've done this a whole bunch, at each of these gaps: interest, attention, consideration, and decision, I know what a successful jump looks like percentage-wise. And everybody who's in the awareness stage just stays there until you found a way to push them up. And when you're trying to make your marketing work, you're trying to figure out, one, how quickly can I learn how to get people up there? What group of people do I want even aware of me? And if I can get 10,000 people here and 10,000 people here, which one make me more money faster? How can I move people up this pyramid more quickly? That's really marketing's role, is to figure that out. And what I recommend you do is de-risk this with a simple little $100 bill. And this $100 bill will change your life, because there is no better way I've ever encountered to figure out how you should market. Let's talk about minimum viable marketing sprints. And what I'm doing here, here's an example of some minimum viable marketing sprints I ran for me. These are ads I'm running on Meta, and you can see these don't look pretty. I am not impressing you with my graphical design here. I have an actual paid designer at CrowdTamers. He hates these because, I mean, what job does he have here, right? But the purpose of this is, I'm forcing you to look only at the words. And by forcing you to look only at the words, I've controlled every other variable. So when I try this ad and this ad and this ad to 4 different audiences, I'm testing 3 different appeals to 4 audiences. There's a 12-way split where every variable but the audience and the text is eliminated. And then with that, different click-through rates on these ads, different engagement rates, different progress through the funnel. I understand that this is what changed it, right? The click-through rate on this headline here was way better than the click-through rate on this headline here, which is why if you go to crowdtamers.com, you'll see that's the headline on my website, because I tested it and knew this was the best thing to get folks interested in signing up and booking a call with me. And the way this works, I put $100 into this ad. I'm targeting an ideal audience or several ideal audiences. I run the ad for 48 hours. And what I'm looking for here is, am I able to drive people from awareness into the acquisition stage at a high enough ratio that I'd call this a successful attempt? And that basically what I'm looking for. I want to see better than a 1% click-through rate. That 1%, I would note, is already in the top 45% of all ads ever run on Meta. The average ad does 0.5%. So if I can get a click-through rate of 1% or better with something that looks this stupid, I know I've got some fit between the audience and the problem I'm offering. I want to see a relatively cheap click, because if my clicks are cheap enough, the landing page doesn't have to be very good, and I'm going to make money anyway. And I want to have a big enough audience. In truth, what I want to see, this number is a bit squishy. In truth, what I want to see is, if 2% of my addressable market buys from me every year, I should make at least $1 million. So at whatever my going price is, right? If my going price is $1, I need to have 1 million people buy from me every year to be able to have $1 million engine. So if you're in $1, this is going to be a real rough road to hoe. But for most people, you have a more valuable product than that. Your lifetime value is higher than that. Model this into there. If you've got this, you're winning. You've de-risked this. And I would note, you don't just run one of these. You run 2 or 5 or 10. Let me give you a quick example. I'll give you 2. Here's one. A client of mine was looking at, do they offer a online training for elder care professionals or for adults whose parents are suffering from dementia? And what we found was these ads for elder care professionals got like a 0.5% click-through rate. And these ads for adults with parents who had dementia got like almost a 4% click-through rate. So identical ad copy, different audiences, 8x difference in click-through rate, right? Guess where we go now to start to build the business? With a signal that incontrovertible and run over 2 or 3 iterations, there's no question now, where do you build the business? And it took us a week, right? We ran 2 iterations over a week, discovered, no, really, this is what it looks like. There you go. That de-risked the decision. And for a total of, I think we spent €300 to be able to say with complete confidence, oh, this is my market, not this. In a week for €300, any real business would kill to have that kind of confidence. Another example, a client of mine had a very successful business in the document workflow space for real estate. They were trying to find their next addressable market. So we ran a 12-way split, right? $1,200, $100 in each, 48 hours. Already threw away 7 of them. No interest there. Took it down to 5. Ran those 5, 48 hours. Took it down to 3. From there, we're going to build what you'd consider a more common, like, real ads, right? Do I have examples of like proper ads here somewhere that I can share? Yeah, these would do, right? Like, real ads should have design. They should have look and feel. They should have proper graphics in. And then once we have found the right language, you design what looks like a proper Facebook ad and you run. But first you learn the right language. You controlled for all the variables. You found your audience and your problem and your offer. And for a couple $100 in a week or two, you don't have to wonder anymore, how should I be selling my business? There is no better way I know of to quickly and definitively answer these things. So anybody out there who's figuring out, how do I launch a product, a feature, a whole business, do this. You don't have to be that smart about Facebook ads to do it. Like, You don't have to be a great designer. Write some copy, try some audiences, launch. You'll learn a whole lot real fast.
I love what I've just seen, and I thought that I'm the only one doing this. I love those simple things when we have only the text that actually is important. We want them to see so we can prove that something is working or not. I also use that way not only to to lower the risk or to find the market, those kind of things. I also use it to lower the ad spend on the cost per click. If I have, for example, a narrative which will unite me and the audience against the similar enemy. For example, I use that. There is a company I've been working with. They are basically consulting affiliate for the banks. So they tell you which credit you need to take, right? And I mean, in the back end, they're working together with the bank, right? Of course, but people don't know that, and that they don't need to know, and people don't like banks. So I said, what's the truth that we can all unite? That can unite us all. So it is banks think only about themselves, right? Which is the truth. They don't care about you or anybody else. So I put that on a visual and few other examples, and basically I leave the one which has the most engagement, and then people discuss, they curse, they say, where is that link? I want to get to the consultancy, what's happening. Then they tag other people, they share it, and basically it grows organically, and you are using ads to get to the people. So something similar in a way, but it's actually using smartly the your target audience, your USP that and using advertising to prove that it's working or not.
Exactly. That is most marketers, when they build a campaign, they go, oh, I have a $10,000 budget. I'm going to write the blog post, write the press release, write the ads, write the email, make the landing page, and launch it. I hope it works. And if it does work, you don't know why.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, you don't know what to fix. You build this in sequence. You build the pyramid one level at a time, and you don't go to the next level until you've reached success for the level you're at. And you don't have to wonder, why is my campaign not working? You diagnosed the problem at the right stage and fixed it before you go on to the next one. So doing it that way means it sounds slower, right? Instead of writing everything at once and launching it, you go step by step and you build up. But doing it this way takes a week or two, which really isn't any longer than doing a campaign the other way either. But each step along the way, you validate the ideas. So I started doing these minimum viable sprints back when I worked for a video game company called GOG.
Nice.
And we had an email list of, when I started doing this, we had an email list of about 1 million people. And this is like maybe my second year, somewhere around there at GOG. And with an email list of 1 million people, we would send 2 emails a week, one on Wednesday, one on Friday, to advertise our sales. GOG sold video games for download, and mostly old-fashioned games from when you and I were kids. They're now available to download and run on your modern computer. Awesome. There's a free plug for GOG. Hope you guys like it. But that email list, the difference between a good send and a bad send in terms of performance was like $40,000. And the number one most important thing was what games were in the package, because obviously if you were selling a bunch of garbage games, you wouldn't make any money. But the number two most important thing was the subject line. And that means the delta on a subject line could be 40 grand. So we would take on a Monday, we would run Facebook ads for our Wednesday email, and we'd make up 5 subject lines, and we would test them on Facebook. Whichever one got the best click-through rate was the subject line for the email that went out.
Mm-hmm.
And then every Wednesday, we'd run the Friday email. And so by doing that, we would pre-test these email subject lines. And for $100 in marketing spend, we would generate, or I guess we would preserve, $20 or $30 or $40,000 in revenue. And then as the company grew and the lists grew bigger and bigger, by the end of my time there, we had like 4.5 million people. And we were still doing these tiny $100 twice a week ad campaigns that, I mean, at that point we were making a difference, $80,000, $100,000 in outcome for $100 spend, right? You can have this little piece of leverage make an incredible difference in your business if you put it at the right place. And so you might say, hey, I'm not a brand new startup. I don't need to de-risk my marketing messaging. I know what works. But do you? Right? If you've got that email list or you're going to launch a new big ad campaign next month, maybe try this out now. Figure out what works. And then when you launch and put your $75,000 in ad spend behind something, you already know what's going to work because you spent $300 one at a time to find the right campaign a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly. And especially if we are talking about early stage companies, it's easier if you prove to the founder or executives, however it is, that, hey, I've tried this, I saw these results. This is what actually works. Can we get that amount of budget so we can go to the next stage? It also works for that. So you can, prove step by step, and that way gain the trust that you need. Obviously, marketing needs trust, especially in the early stage companies, because there are always. I always say to the people, there are two ways, and marketers are like, crucified, because one way is performance, which investors and most of the time founder also wants to go, and the other way is marketers and sometimes founder. They realize that you need to build long term at the same time. So, and usually it's, one function is in the company and the other one is hired. Usually performance is hired as an agency. And especially that if you need to prove that something you are doing is working, what you just explained is a great way to do it.
Apparently, I sneezed so hard my camera lost focus. Excuse me. Let me bring it back into focus here. I'm very blurry. I'll just come real close till it acquires lock again.
Yeah,
hey,
now it's good, I think.
Great. Live streaming. This is a real professional live stream, Trevor. Everyone's very impressed. All right. So, now I'm not going to answer a random phone call. All right.
Now it's good. Or
Hey, there we go. All right.
There you go.
So about that, what I have learned, and a bunch of my clients learned last year, if you're able to show a VC, not, hey, we think we'll make this much, or our marketing projections are we'll make this much, but hey, we have a obtainable market on Meta of 850,000. We advertised to 6,000 of them. We spent this much. We made this much more. We want $4 million to go address the rest of them. They will write checks. Even in this crappy market, they will write checks. Because if you show them you cracked go-to-market and you understand how to acquire folks with performance, which is quick, and then what you learn with performance teaches you how to do your content, because you learn who your audience is and what they want to hear. Once you've learned that, that's what you go talk about. And so it really shows investors, it gives them confidence that you know how to tackle this. And I've actually got, right now, I'm working with a Slovenian company. Slovenian? Yeah, a Slovenian company. Helping them go to the US. And what we're doing for them is we're proving that go-to-market works. And then they're going to be raising a crowdfund. And if you say to the crowdfund, look, we spent this much, we made this much more, and in their case, like we're driving actual sales for them, they'll be able to say, give us $500,000 or $750,000, and we'll be able to grow to $4 million in revenue with it. And when you put that in a crowdfund, that's pretty persuasive, right? You'll be able to raise those funds because folks go, this looks like a safe place to put my money. But it also works for, it works for venture capital, it works for private equity. Anywhere you want to go, you have that argument, they're much more likely to invest in you.
Indeed. That's interesting because, a lot of companies from here are interested in going to the US market. And usually one thing that's always missing or it stalls the decision. It's the a lack of money, lack of budget to go over there, because it's expensive to go to the US market.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So that is, and one of the ways you tackle that, right, is you say, look, I've got a an engine that's making me like positive revenue, and then one, you can find an investor in your local country who goes, oh, you're earning money in the U.S. already, but only like you're generating $2,000 in revenue a month because you can't afford to power a big engine, but you are making $2,000 in revenue. Well, all right, I'll write you a check so you can do 20 grand in revenue. And once you're doing that, then somebody in the US will invest in you, right? Like that's one way to go about it. Or you could bootstrap up. If you're making $2,000 this month, then you can do 2.5 and then 3 and then 4 and then 6. And like you can bootstrap your way into landing in the US market too. Either way, right? Running little tests like this, and of course having a landing page to send people to, lets you build this up and bootstrap. Bootstrapping as a term has gotten a weird meaning to it because the original idea of pull yourself up by your own bootstraps is impossible, right? You can't pull your bootstraps hard enough that you float. But somehow we've just come to take this to mean, oh, you succeed in self-fund. But if you can self-fund into success in a different market, right, then you don't have to worry about raising in this crap economy and uh, all the other problems. A lot of founders go. I was talking to a founder a couple of days ago. They are pre-product, pre-revenue, and they're like, "We want to raise $10 million seed," and I'm like, "Cool your jets, there, buddy." Like, I mean, of course, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting $10 million for nothing, too, but in this market, I don't think you'll be able to. And I think a lot of founders, one, of course, you hear on TechCrunch and Crunchbase and all those places about all these big rounds, and you go, "Oh, I want to go do that," because it sounds awesome.
Of course.
But you get on the VC gravy train, right? And it's like a cocaine addiction. It's really hard to break the habit. And eventually you'll find yourself, you've given away, 60% of your company and they have a 3x pref stack on liquidation. And suddenly you discover the company exits for $100 million and you got 60,000. And you're like, what happened? I have a painful sensation in my rear end because I feel like I've been screwed pretty hard. Whereas if you self fund into success and get to, I mean, we don't need unicorn startups. We really don't. The world would be so much better if every founder who's dreaming of a unicorn self funds to a $10 million annual startup.
Agreed.
Like, because how hard would your life be if you had a $10 million annual recurring revenue startup with a 60% margin, right? You're making $6 million a year. What else do you need if you're making $6 million a year? You built a business, it's succeeding on its own ground. You're not giving ownership and equity to people who already have millions and millions of dollars. And you're actually like, you're generating employment and making the economy better. So I actually put out on TikTok, I think it's supposed to go live on Monday, uh, a video of don't build a unicorn for God's sakes. Right? Don't shoot for that. Build a $10 million company. It's hard enough. But you can self-fund there in 4 or 5 years and not worry about can I keep the VCs happy? It's can I build a business profitably instead?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You reminded me now of two cases actually. One is a consulting development company here from this region that I've been working with just as COVID started. Right, there were 300 of them. Then in 3.5 months of working together, there were 800, and they grew even more. And the goal was, everybody in the company had that mantra: unicorn, fast forward, 10x growth, these kind of things. And they grew a lot. The thing is that they had the capital to open one market each month, no matter how small it is. It can be a state in the US, it can be one of the ex-Yugoslavia states, or whatever it is. And it worked up until some time. Then it comes the
Yeah.
crisis, those kind of things. And what happened is they tried too hard, I would say, to get to the IPO. You know, have people, have everything, and go for the IPO. I think, we are now live streaming, so I don't want to give false information, but I think they failed once or twice to do that, and now they're, I don't know in which mode, they are still solid, but it's in a stealth mode, not the mode they were in. The growth has stopped and it's going slowly, and kind of interesting how the things go, right? Not always that way. The other one is, I've been asking the VC company that actually invested in a startup that that had a potential to be a unicorn. And I asked him, what's happening with these guys? Why did they get so that uh, amount of money? It was a huge investment. And he told me, they're making some kind of chips or something like that, hardware parts. And he told me, look, the thing is, the founder has an experience in like building 3 startups before that. So they all failed, but he has the experience, right? And the thing is, he's good at selling the story and everything, and he built quite a nice team around him. And why did we invest? That's on one side. The other side is, if they are able to sell one product, only one out of those that they are building, they will be decathlon, not unicorn, right? And so they say, for us, it works well. If it happens, we are all rich. If it don't happen, well, okay, we tried.
Yeah, and the VC model really is $1 billion or bust, right? If you don't
Right.
make $1 billion, they want you bankrupt because then they get capital loss to offset the gains. It's a tax break.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen tons of start making to Series A and be generating, 1 to 4 million annually, and then die because you raised the A, you hired up, you've got $8 million annually in salary, $4 million in ARR, and you can't make the leap from 4 million to 12 million. And so eventually you choke and die, even though a business making $4 million a year should be able, that should be self sustainable, right? Particularly if your software is finished, you're selling it, you're making money. Any company that didn't super, super, super overhire can just mosey along, making 4 million a year, right? Keep a maintenance team on board, and there you go. I'm not saying VC money is bad.
Of
VC
course.
money gives you opportunity. I'm saying it is just like any big financial investment, you should go into it aware. And there are so many ways to get money these days, both VC, PE, crowdfund, non dilutive loans, like whatever. Pick the right way to move forward for you. I do think for almost any startup, de-risk that marketing, prove PMF, get to 10, 20 a month. Any VC writes you such a better term sheet now. And almost anybody, I'm speaking to a largely North American audience in my case, you can get out grants or loans with like 0% interest and a 7-year payback from, governments and NGOs, where you can get 60 or 80 grand to build the product, build the engine, and start it working. And at that point, if you go the VC route, you don't give away 25% of your company for 600K. You can say, I'm going to give away 11% of my company for 1.2 million, have control, be much more aware of what's going on, and make smarter choices, right? You do that. It's so easy to build on the tech side now because very little
Mm-hmm.
of what's being built by startups is novel technology, right? Hardware aside, hardware is super hard.
Yeah.
If you're building software, you put together a no code or a low code stack for your two-sided marketplace or your front end for ChatGPT or whatever it is you're building. You put it together, you ship it, see if you can get people to buy. If not, try a new thing, right? Either
So
pivot your product or pivot your marketing.
exactly. So one thing I wanted to get your head around is product market fit. Actually, the thing that I don't see that many people talk about is what are the early signs of the product market fit. What are those first indicators that company can see and say, aha, we are going in the right direction.
So in my case, when you're building up this minimum viable sprint and you see that engagement rate on the ad, right, over 1%, or I mentioned that one client of mine, right, 3.85% click through rate, that's a fit, right? People want that. I had a different client a couple years ago, 7.4% click through rate on their first ad. Hot damn. People want that, right? There's pain there and you're able to solve it. If you see that, you already know people want me to fix this problem. Now, can I? Is a fair question because you may have made a promise you can't fulfill. But if you can fulfill on what you're claiming there, you've already got, like, a week or two in, a couple $100 in, you found a problem that there's market fit for. Now you have to solve it. That's one. The other thing is, if once someone tries your product, they go out of their way to tell other people,
Mm-hmm.
right? If word of mouth is a strong channel for you, you've got PMF. One thing I do a lot is after I've worked with a client for 30 days, I ask them for a referral, right? Send me 2 clients. And if I can reliably get half of my clients to give me a referral, I'm doing my job. If I can't, maybe I suck, right? Like I was sick almost all of August. I had strep infection in my knee, which I didn't know was a thing that could happen. But as a result, I wasn't doing a very good job working in August. So all of my August clients not super happy with me. None of them are going to give me a referral right now because I basically didn't do anything for a month. Okay, 2 things. One is I better do a service recovery so my clients don't, churn this month. But the other thing is that's a great indicator. I haven't fulfilled what the client expectations were, so no product market fit this month because I sucked. But new clients who come on board this month, I'm not sick now. I'm functioning. My nose is pretty stuffy, as you can hear, but otherwise I'm not sick. That's just ragweed. I'm allergic to the air in Montreal. But all those clients, right, in 30 days, I asked them for referrals. If they're happy, awesome. Did my job. It's a great way to see not just PMF, but also continuing quality of service, right? Word of mouth / referrals is a really strong indicator that people find what you're doing valuable and they want to tell other people about it.
Yeah, exactly. I remember how it went for the funky marketing. Because usually, the thing that we talked about here on the podcast, we talk about it on LinkedIn. How do you measure if you are actually creating demand or whatnot, right? And it doesn't need to be always your clients, right? Sometimes it can be somebody that you give value through the content, through, for example, like episode like this or something else, and they come to your website to convert to buy something from you, and they say, "Hey, I watch Trevor on the Funky Marketing Show." Or I got a lot of those that comes. I watched Nemanja talk about LinkedIn on Yak's B2B marketing podcast, right? Those kind of things. Or on the other hand, you have somebody that says, like, I don't know, Refine Labs referred you, or Pep Laya referred you, and it means a lot. Like, those are big names, and that they
Yeah,
refer somebody to you, it means okay, they think that what you're talking about actually makes sense as well. Now there's always this thing when somebody recommends you, which is not your client, that that maybe talk out of their head, right? They don't know how you actually do, how you actually perform. So it's a little bit out of the box, but it's good, that you have some indicators that you are in the right track.
definitely. That is uh, getting referrals, especially from people who aren't clients, is it can be a mixed blessing. Uh, One of my highest revenue customers ever came from a different agency that was like, we don't want to tackle this work. And it was back before I was really heavily agency driven and I was more fractional like you are now. And so it was a bit out of the frame of what I usually do. But I'm like, the one way to guarantee you never get a second referral is to turn down the first one someone sends your way. So I took it and I ended up being like $180,000 from that one customer. So like, yay, good for me. But also, man, I had to work really hard because it was all stuff that I hadn't really built processes around how to do. And so I had to solve all the problems from the beginning. But, when you're fractional, your best value is give me all your problems, I will solve them. Right? The more hourly work I do for you, the better I am as a fractional expert. Because, like me, you're a grumpy old man. You know how to do everything. You've solved all these problems before. As an agency, it's the reverse, right? What's the least I can do for you? Because the narrower I define myself, the better trained my team can be to solve the problem without me doing it all, right? As a fractional, see something, you sell your hours. As an agency owner, you're trying to sell other people's hours. And so you have to limit the scope of the engagement to what they can tackle successfully. So, which way you want to go is, I think it's up to personal preferences. I made the decision 2.5 years ago. I wanted to scale this up and not be fractional. My goal at the start of 2021 was I was sick of working 70-hour weeks, and I did like 260K or something as a fractional CMO, which is pretty good. So my goal was to do 600K and only work 30 hours a week. And then somehow in 2021, the company did like 350K, but I had to pay everybody's salary. So my income went down and I was working more. And then in 2022, the company did 700K, but I had more staff and I was still making less than working more. And I'm like, how do I suck so bad at achieving my goal of, maybe don't work so hard, Trevor? And then this year, the recession, shadow recession, whatever came, January through June, I made less month every month than I had the month before. So this year, I'm going to make less than I did last year. And I also worked like 80 hours a week trying to solve the problem of how come no one's buying? But I keep telling myself next year is the year you'll be able to cut back to 30 hours. Oh, well.
I mean, those are nice problems. I mean, nice problems to have. You know what's the goal, right? So you try to optimize towards it. I did the same. I was trying to see, I want to only work with companies that I want to work with, right? I want to work on solving difficult problems, and a friend asked me a couple of days ago, what do you actually really want to do? Right. So I told her I want to, work with companies to establish the right business model, to align all the things, to do, the difficult stuff. And she told me, like, why do you need that headache? And I'm like, that's the only thing that keeps me engaged, motivated, right? Because ever since I was, a teenager, it was easy for me to write copy, then to write articles, then to come up with ideas about the creatives, about all kind of different things. It's easy for me. It comes naturally. Sure, I mean, I learned a lot and I made it better and so on and so on. But when you are able to do like 80 amazing LinkedIn posts in like 3 hours because you did your research and you know the things, then it's not something that you want to do every day, right? I want to do something that is more difficult and involve my head, my mind to try and figure out to find the solution. So yeah, and now it's all going into the circles.
I agree. It is the part I enjoy about that 0 to 1 problem, right? Which is, many marketers say it's the hardest part is to get to that 1 million because then you know what works and go from there. But what I like is it's a little bit like panning for gold, in that you've got a process, you know it works, and eventually you will surface the high value thing. And that's the exciting part when you go, oh wow, look at this. This is going to make somebody $1 million. That's really exciting. And I don't enjoy as much the let me take a $3 million company and take it to 12 million. because it's more about scales and operation and efficiency and like, getting that CRM tweaked and doing all the big process. Like, and that's, yeah, I know how to do it and I've done it a bunch, but it's not as fun as finding that first gold nugget and saying, look, this is what we have to do.
Exactly. Agreed. I mean, one thing that's left for us to say, where can people find more information about you? Where can they connect with you? Had a chat.
Sure, there's a couple of places here. I'll plug myself. One of them is CrowdTamers.com. That's my agency. If you want to talk to me, there's a big green button on the homepage that says "Let's Chat." That just finds you a hold of my calendar, right? So we'll find a way to chat. That's one. Everything I do, everything I know, everything I teach, you can find at growtomarket.courses. I have a little paid course there. You can join. It's in like soft launch right now. I'm trying to wrap up and get everything kind of finished and polished and live for a proper like October. I'm going to really start to flog this, but right now you can join the little like dozen strong community. Just maybe part of what we're building. Um, Beyond that, I'm on Twitter at Trevor Longino. I'm on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Trevor Longino. Basically, there's only one mustache like this. Go search for Trevor Longino and click on the big dumb mustache.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Trust me, you need to do that. I mean, Trevor didn't mention it, but I mean, if not every day, every couple of days, I see something that he
Every
writes
day.
that
Every
that,
day.
and I don't actually read these days a lot on LinkedIn, but usually I read your stuff because it's something that makes you wonder. Aha, I didn't see that perspective, or this is something that I need to think about more, and those kind of things.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So, guys, thank you for being with us. Hope we gave you some solutions to your early stage problems.
Yeah.
Trevor, thanks for being here. Thanks for chatting with me, and hopefully we'll get to do that once you launch the course and all those other stuff to help promote those things as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Namaya.
Thank you. Bye bye,
Take
guys.
care, everybody.